Hi everybody and welcome to this myofascial release session. Today you will need a foam roller and a spiky ball and a mat. So I'm going to take you through various techniques to release tension, stiffness and tightness in the body. We're going to start from our feet and work our way up. So the first thing I'd like you to do is just a little test really, is you're going to stand upright with your feet hip width apart. And you're going to soften your knees and you're going to roll all the way down to the floor. And I just want you to make a mental note of how you feel at the very start of the session. So at the end we'll do that same roll down and compare if you get a little bit less stiff, hopefully by the end of the session. So standing with your feet hip width apart, pull in the core, take a breath in. As you exhale, just nodding that chin forward down to the chest and feel like you're peeling one vertebra at a time off an imaginary wall that is behind you, keeping the knees soft and the weight on the 3 points of the feet. So just go as far as you feel comfortable, as far as you feel able. And at the bottom, feel like you sort of shake out the head, you're like a floppy rag doll. And just make a mental note of any areas there's tension or tightness or stiffness and where those areas are. And if you can, put a number on how tight or stiff those particular areas are on a scale of 1 to 10. Breathing in and exhale, engage your stomach and slowly peel one vertebra back onto that imaginary wall behind you, one at a time. The head lifts up last of all. So then just sort of make a mental note if your back or your neck or the back of your thighs are tight, and compare it with how we feel at the end. So starting off with the spiky ball, I'd like you to press down, and you can use any ball, it can be a tennis ball if you haven't got a spiky massage ball, and you're going to press down quite firmly, almost like you're trying to crush the ball. So this is a little massage ball which gives. It's not one of those hard ones that you put in the washing machine. So try to crush it and press down fairly hard, and you want to go the full length of the arch of the foot. And you want to do this for about a minimum of 30 seconds. So start off really pressing hard. Try not to keep the leg straight and move your hips. Try to bend and straighten the knee so that the movement is coming from the knee joint, so your body's just nice and relaxed. And then get a little bit of pressure there, and maybe getting a little bit faster, creating a little bit of heat, a bit more vigor. And what we're trying to do is release the fascia in the foot, which will then travel up to the calf, which will then travel up to the hamstring. So hopefully after doing this for a minimum of 30 seconds on this right leg, then you will do the roll down again, and it should feel at the back of that right leg a lot looser and a lot easier than your left leg. Okay, so you release it. And then again, soften the knees. It might feel a little bit tingly. And then gently roll down again, just as you did before. And make a mental note when you're at the bottom, does the back of that right leg just feel a lot easier and a lot looser and less stiff than this left leg? Because that's what should happen, even if it's just 1 or 2 notches easier. And then of course you repeat and do the same on that opposite leg. And again, it can often feel a little bit icky. Some people like the sensation of the spiky ball under the foot. Some people find it ticklish. What I would say to that is the less pressure you apply, the worse it is. So try to put a firm pressure down and it should feel a lot easier. Nice and firm, pressing down, loosening off that fascia in the foot. Now the fascia is that kind of cling film-like substance. It's made up of collagen. If you think of a packet of chicken breasts and you take off the skin, there's like a thin white cling film underneath that. That's fascia. It responds to stress by laying down more. And when we get really tight muscles and fascia, we're able to move less, we're restricted in some way, we become a little bit stiffer. So releasing the fascia and the muscle, or myo, retaining to muscle, fascia, relating to the fascia, so myofascial release, you get much better results before you then do your stretches. So stretching alone doesn't do as well as releasing the fascia first and then stretching. So now, when I roll down, I should feel a lot looser and a lot easier, and I do. Like a little miracle. Okay, so I've kind of loosened off the feet first of all. Now I'm going to move to the calf muscles. So I'm going to take our roller onto the floor. So let's place our roller sideways on, and I want you to place your calves just on top of the roller. So the more pressure you have pushing down into the roller, the more painful it can be. So you've got to watch and be aware of that as well. You've got to have a little bit of upper body strength here. So you're going to just push into the hands and lift your butt into the air. And I'm just going to roll forward and I'm going to roll back. Forward, over the calf muscles and back again. If I want to make it a little bit more challenging, if I can handle it, I can cross one leg over the other. And again, the technique's the same, but now there's a lot more weight and therefore a lot more pressure going through that roller. So it's a little bit less comfortable now. It's not painful, but it's less comfortable, but I'm getting in a little deeper if I can handle it. I can also go onto the side of the calf by just sort of angling my body that way, or onto the other side by angling the body this way. And of course, I'll then have to go and do the other one. If you find it difficult to hold your upper body up, then of course you can roll like this. It isn't as much pressure, but it's better than nothing. From there, we move a little bit higher up to the back of the hamstring, and kind of the technique is the same. You start here. Again, you're using your arms to kind of propel you forward and back. And then, again, you can do the same, crossing one leg over the other. And so I've got one hamstring completely off the roller. So I'm getting a little bit more pressure. And again, I can kind of slightly angle out, or I can slightly angle in according to where my tightness is. And really all you're looking out for is any little hot spots, any areas of tightness or tension or pain. And when you find them, if you can bear it, get in there, okay? So from here, I'm going to get into the large band of fascia right down the side of the leg called tensor fascial lata, your IT band. So you've got your TFL muscle here, tensor fascial lata here, and if you palpate it, it's often a little bit sore and a little bit tight. But then you're following that, inserting into that is a big band of fascia, your IT band or your iliotibial tract. So often a most painful part in a lot of people. So you can start side lying, and there are two ways to do this. If you want less pressure, because it can often be very sore, this particular area, I'd suggest crossing the top leg over the bottom leg, because then you've got some weight through that top foot, which takes a little bit weight off the roller. You're going from the side of the knee all the way up to the hip and back again. So I'm just bending and straightening this knee to move the roller up and down the thigh. Again, if I want to make this harder, I will just take this top foot off the floor. So now there's a lot of weight going through my leg. And again, I'm going from the bottom of the knee to the top of the hip. And if you find a little area that needs tight, that needs rolling out a little bit more, that's stiff, if you can handle it, of course, then you can go an inch up and an inch down. If it's too painful to move, then you can just stay there and breathe. And remember, when you're on a trigger point, that point of tension, try to give it a mark out of 10. Let's say 10 is excruciating, really painful. 1 is you can't really feel anything at all, and 5 is about average. If, let's say, I'm feeling a 6 here, then as I move, what I should notice, and you're rolling for maybe 30 seconds up to 2 minutes, I should notice it go down to a 5 or even a 4. What I mustn't do is come off that trigger point before it starts to go down, because you can overstimulate trigger points. So 30 seconds to 2 minutes, you're just looking for that number to come down. If it's really painful and you can't bear to move, then you can just stay on the trigger point and just breathe. But again, you must wait until that number comes down. So that's your TFL here. And don't forget to breathe while you're holding this. I'm then going to move onto my piriformis muscle, and I'm going to use the little spiky ball here. Now your piriformis muscle is kind of located from the underside of your sacrum in your lower back all the way onto your femur, your thigh bone. So it kind of covers your side of your butt, if you like. There's 2 ways to do this. You can sit upright, place the ball under the butt cheek and kind of move forward and back. I find it better to actually lie on the side and on my elbow, so that the ball goes into the side of the butt cheek, because really it's usually around this area here, your piriformis muscle. It's one of your external rotators. And again, you're just moving up and down. I'm just bending and straightening this knee. And you might think, oh yes, I can feel a little bit of tension there. And again, you can stay still if it's very painful, or you can move a little. But even if you just think, oh, I'll move 1 centimeter this way, you might feel it a little bit more intense. And when it's gone down a little bit, you probably find another little hot spot, 1/2 inch up. So again, it's important to go around the whole area and keep breathing. And again, remember 30 seconds to 2 minutes per area, waiting for that number to come down. Once you've massaged an area, it's always a good idea to then directly stretch that particular muscle group to take advantage of it. So in this case, I would stretch my glutes and I'd come into 2 90-degree angles and I'd go into the glute stretch, because now I should find it easier than going into a glute stretch without having kind of warmed up and prepared the muscle. So I've already pre-loosened the muscle. Now means that it's easier for me to go into the stretch, and I can also go a little bit further and a little bit deeper than I could had I not have used this before. So the next section, we're working our way up the body. We're going to now do the inner groin. So for this one, the roller is going to be lengthways, and I want you to lie face down, sort of resting on your elbows, and place your knee sort of level with your hip, just on the edge of the roller. So they've just got a couple of inches of roller in front and ahead of your knee. So what I'd like you to do is go from your knee all the way to your inner groin and literally just go over the pubic bone and then back again. To add a little bit more weight, what you can do is press down using your free hand here. And if you find a tight area, just use your hand to press down into the roller, so you apply a little bit more pressure. So I've often found a lot of the tension is right across that pubic bone area, your kind of knicker line, if you like. There's a lot of tension that people can experience there. So others will experience it nearer the knee and some actually just right in the middle. So it's important to just move the full length of the area till you find the hot spot that is tight for you. So moving on from here, really looking at your sit bones, your ischial tuberosities. If you think almost like sitting on a saddle of a bike, it's a difficult area to get into, right at the top of the hamstring. So what I'm going to have you do is actually sit on the roller, and I'm going to have you sit with your legs straight, okay? But you're going to lift this sit bone off the roller, so all the weight is now on the opposite sit bone. You've got to get your weight forward, because if you lean back, you take the weight into your hand, which comes off the roller. So if you lean forward, all of the weight is going through that sit bone, that butt bone, and you go from the sit bone halfway down the back of the leg, halfway down the hamstring and back again. And what I found is if you turn the leg in slightly, you almost come over, it's like a nervy sensation, almost like a band twanging. And that's usually about halfway down the hamstring, to about there, and then all the way back to the sit bone, to the butt bone there. Down and back. I'll show you with this leg. Just an awkward position for a lot of people to get into. So hands either side of the front foot, you're square on, and then take the opposite sit bone off the roller. Now what that does, it makes you turn that way, but if you can, turn the leg in, because this little kind of nervy sensation, you'll feel it when the leg is rotated more in. So there, I'm on it there. It's like a sort of, you're going over a little like hump in the road or a little tight band. So again, just kind of rolling forward and rolling back. But again, it's an awkward one for a lot of people to even get into this position. But the weight really does have to be forward here. It's a good one to loosen off the hamstrings if they are tight as well. So you might find the tension right at the top of the sit bone or halfway down. So again, just looking for where the tightness is and then kind of rolling where the tight areas are. Okay, so next one, we're going to move to your spine. So I like to start lying on my back with the roller kind of underneath the mid-back, the bra strap area, if you like. And just to support my neck, I'd clasp the hands behind the head, interlace the fingers with the elbows forward. I take my butt a couple of inches off the floor, and I just bend the knees. And as I bend the knees, I bring my butt towards my heels, and the roller goes up my back. As I straighten the legs, the roller comes down. Okay, so you want to go really from the bottom of the ribs to the top of the shoulder blades. And again, if you find a tight area, and usually the thoracolumbar junction is usually tight on most people, which is the bottom of the rib cage, your 12th rib, and the top of your first lumbar vertebra, L1. So it's usually around here, this kind of area that most people feel tension, but it's very individual. You might hear some clunks or clicks or cracks. What you've got to remember, if anybody has osteoporosis, this is not a good idea to roll on because of the brittle bones. So that would be a contraindication in this instance. I'm then going to move to one of your major back muscles, which is called your quadratus lumborum, or QL for short. This is often a very tight back muscle. It attaches from your 12th rib all the way down to the crest of your hip. And it's responsible for lateral flexion. Okay, when you stretch to the side, it stretches and opens out, and it will pull you back into alignment to bring you back in. So it's a tight back muscle. I'm going to show you from the front and from the back so you can see a view from both sides. So what I would do, looking from the front view, is I'd be resting on my elbow. Both knees are bent, but the back leg is here with the heel on the floor. And I've got the roller under my waist. I'm just going to lift my butt a couple of inches. Now it's completely in the waist, but this quadratus lumborum is slightly behind the waist. So all I'm going to do is angle the body ever so slightly towards the ceiling. And then I'm literally moving 2 inches. I go from the crest of the hip up to the bottom rib, the 12th rib. And I can feel that now. And again, it's tight in most people. So showing you from the opposite side, getting into the waist, lifting my butt up, slightly rotating towards the ceiling so it goes just behind the waist, and then again going from the 12th rib all the way down to the crest of the hip. I can use a tennis ball or a spiky ball to get into that exact same area. So placing it again, there's the bottom of the 12th rib to the crest of the hip, and it goes, there's the center of my spine, it's just lateral to there. And I can lie down on my back, placing the ball here, and again, I might have this as a support for my neck. You don't have to. And I'm just placing, and I'll move around until I get the tight bit. Now I can stay here. If I want to increase the pressure, I will bring my knee into the chest, like this. And again, I might do a little bit of rolling side to side or forward and back, pressing in. And that's given me a lot more pressure pushing down now on that quadratus lumborum. And again, technique the same. You're giving it a number when you first go into there, and then waiting for that number to subside. And like anything, if you want a better result, once you've loosened off that tissue, you can then go straight into a stretch. And in this case, you might do a mermaid stretch. So you might, for example, you could be using your roller, sitting upright, reach over, stretch, turn the body in, and go a little bit further. I can go one further, and I can twist and look underneath. But that would be your basic lat and quadratus lumborum stretch. I then stretch the opposite direction. Now I'm getting again lats and quadratus lumborum, and again I can also add in a rotation, which gives me a little bit more stretch, a little bit more leverage here. So I can go this way, over, with or without the rotation, with or without threading through, up to you. And then coming across to the other side, stretching, and again you may wish to add a rotation. So that will stretch your quadratus lumborum. Moving higher up the body, rib cage. So we've stopped at your 12th rib. Let's go from your 12th rib all the way up to the armpit, okay? And again, you can lie on your side, but again, slightly backwards, starting to turn your body slightly up towards the ceiling. So I can go from my 12th rib up to my armpit. And again, I might go completely like this. I might go a little bit more to the side or completely on the side. Again, you're just looking for any tension. If there is no tension, there's no need to roll unless you really want to. And then finally from here, you're going one up. So from the armpit to your elbow. So really kind of the back of the shoulder and tricep area. So I put my arm on so that my elbow is just hanging over the edge, and then I'm going to go all the way down the back of the tricep to the back of my shoulder and up again. So back of the shoulder and up. And again, I can use my hand to press down to give me a little bit more pressure there. Showing you from the back, elbow on. So I can use this, and what I can also do is turn my palm, because I might get round the back of the tricep or slightly round the front of the arm. So by turning and twisting the arm as I'm doing this, I'll get a little bit more leverage. And I might just stand here along the back of the shoulder. There's just a couple more I want to finish off with. Again, moving up. Your rotator cuff, and in particular, around teres minor here, usually get very tight in most people. So I'm picking all the key trigger points of the body that get stiff. So for this one, you're just going to place the spiky ball here and just lie down. And just so your neck's got some support, you can relax your head here. Again, it's usually very tight in most people, so often people don't want to move here, but if you can handle it, you can jiggle about a bit. Let me show you from the back. So it goes here. And if you can't find it straight away, or if you think it feels okay, it's probably unlikely that you've got the right place, because most people do have tension here. You can actually use the roller as a cushion here. So if I just wanted to stay here and rest my head, I could. Now I could just kind of jiggle around just till I find the right place. Moving and breathing. So usually it's this little area here, around that corner tip of the scapula. And if that's tight, your pecs are usually tight at the front. Often we have tight pecs because we have round shoulders, poor posture. So all this comes forward and the muscles start to tighten and shorten. So again, you can often get trigger points here, and you can just prod and you're likely to find one. It's usually around here. Two techniques here. You can either sit upright, place one hand and press it inwards. If you want more pressure, take the other hand and push the ball into the skin. And you can again just stay here, or you can roll it around. And as you roll it around, breathe and get into that area. If that's a little bit too much effort, you can do it lying face down on the floor. So you would lie face down and just keep the ball in place and bring your arm down by your side. Turn your head away and just kind of use this arm to maneuver you so that you're rolling the ball around. And that will loosen off the chest and shoulder so that you can do, if you want to, and what we call an open windows exercise on the roller. So you would be lying on your back. Again, it's to open out the chest and shoulders. 4 movements essentially. You inhale, reach the arms up, pulling the shoulder blades apart. You exhale, bend those elbows out to the side. You then externally rotate the arms back, keeping the elbows in space, and then you stretch the arms along the floor. Now, if you can touch the floor, inhale, with those elbows, fine. This is the hardest part. It's trying to get the back of the hand on the floor without flicking the wrist, without changing the joint angle. And if you can't get those elbows on the floor, then maybe you should have been up here in the first place. And then you would straighten the arms without any of this happening. So ribs down, chin down, shoulders down. One more. And then back up. And that will open out the chest and shoulders, particularly if you sit at the desk a lot of the time. And the last one is your neck. We finish off with your neck. 2 techniques again. So roller goes in the natural curve of your neck, presuming there's no neck issues. The first technique is a little bit what we've done. You lift the butt, and then you're just kind of moving an inch forward, an inch back. Again, obviously not if you have any neck issues. So again, I'm just moving the roller up and down. The second technique is you kind of give yourself a double chin. You press the back of your neck into the roller. And if I'm going to turn my head to the left, I want to angle the roller slightly down to the left. And as I turn my head, I'm really pressing the back of my skull, back of my neck into the roller. And when I find a hot spot, I'm going to move an inch to the left and an inch to the right in an attempt to kind of massage it out. It's a bit like I'm saying no. So what I'm not doing is I'm not just turning the head. I'm pressing down and slowly turning the head, watching for any hot spots. When I find one, I'm going to say no. And the last thing you can do is to shunt the roller. So when you found a hot spot, you can shunt it from that. I'm taking my head off so you can see. I can move the roller quickly from left to right. The reason I'm taking my head off to show you is because it doesn't look like that when I'm pressing down. It actually looks like my head is doing this. So I'm not doing this with my neck. I'm keeping my head still. I'm just shunting the roller. It just doesn't appear that way when you look at it. Okay? So we've gone all the way from the feet all the way up to the neck, and I've picked out all of those key trigger points. So hopefully when you join me to stand up now, you might find that final roll down a little bit easier, fingers crossed. So we stand with our feet hip width apart like we did before, knees soft, shoulders relaxed. We breathe in to prepare. As you exhale, nod the chin forward and start to work your way gently down, one vertebra at a time, breathing out as you go. And the body and the back of the legs and the spine and the neck should feel a lot less stiff than when you started out. Fingers crossed. So remember, the best results are to stretch out the muscle groups after you've done the ball and the roller, because you get a much better result. And particularly if somebody's injured, you've got a shoulder injury for example, and they can't move their arm very well, the first thing to do is to release the tissue, release the tension, so you get the mobilizing first, because the last thing you want to do is strengthen, because if the tissues are tight and you're doing strength work, then you're compounding that. You're contracting the tissue, because that's what strength work does. So you would need to do stretches before that, but before you even do the stretches, release the tissue. Restore mobility via myofascial release work, then do the stretches to loosen up, and then you can carry on and do the strength work afterwards. Good luck.